Wander Wealthy Podcast, episode 77 with Natalie Bacon. What is up, my friends? Welcome back to the Wander Wealthy Podcast. My name is Tess Wicks. I'm your host, and today on the show, I have a good friend joining me. She is also a fellow blogger, business owner, and just recently moved to Chicago as I moved away. Her name is Natalie Bacon, and she is amazing. Let me tell you a bit about her from her professional bio before I get too, casual with it, because we are good friends and I have a lot to say for an introduction. Natalie is a success coach and online entrepreneur with a focus on helping creative, ambitious women master their mindset and make money online doing what they love. Prior to this, Natalie was actually a CFP, a certified financial planner. She comes from the money blogger space and is now kind of shifting into this personal development career. I've learned so much from her online courses, which we'll talk about throughout this program, but I'll also be talking about at the end. Stay tuned. She is leaving us with a special gift. So that is very important for you to know. Before she was a CFP, she was also a practicing attorney. And that is really what started her on this journey of blogging and then becoming an entrepreneur, is because she graduated law school with over $200,000 of student loan debt. And on top of that, we actually talked about this on a previous podcast episode. Natalie was on episode number 16, where we talked super in depth about student loans and how she got to where she was a year ago. And so that's why today we're going to really pick up from a year ago and go from there. But if you're interested in the student loan conversation, you can check out episode 16, where we talk much more in depth about that. We touch on it a little bit here, but that's the place for you. Today, we're picking up from about a year ago when I saw Natalie back at a conference. She was in this place of heartbreak, and she was just kind of living comfortably in her job. And she gets into this in more detail. But I got to also witness, because after that conference, we decided we're going to do a mastermind where we chat with a group of women about once a month. I witnessed her attitude change. I witnessed these shifts that she was making in her life. All of a sudden, she was just like, I'm so happy. I'm the happiest I've ever been. And she started making more money. She started planning more things for her life, being much more productive and much more of a go-getter, and really shifting her focus from going out on the weekend to really putting all of her eggs in investing in her business. And then she decided she was ready to quit her job. Her income had grown. She decided to move to Chicago, and now she's on track to triple her income from last year. She has quite literally designed her dream life, and I anticipate that this is just going to keep going for her. This episode, we really get into the mindset discussion. She gives us some really, really helpful tips and tricks and tools, and also you can always check out her Design Your Dream Life Academy. Again, she's leaving a special gift for us at the end of this episode, so make sure you stay tuned. It'll be in the outro, but right now, let's get into the good stuff. Here is episode number 77 with Natalie Bacon. Okay, Natalie, first, thank you so much for coming on the Wander Wealthy podcast. How are you doing today?
I am doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
You have a lot to fill us in on. You've actually been on the show back when it was Words of Money, but even since 1 year ago when we were sitting at FinCon 2017, so much has changed for you. So I would love for you to tell us what's been going on in your life personally, career-wise, financially, within the last year.
Absolutely. It's so crazy to think back to that time, because literally my life has done a 180. At FinCon 2017, I was one week post a horrible breakup, and it was not great. But I really committed to myself to just make the next year the best year ever for me, and I did it. I quit my job April of the following year. So FinCon was in October, quit in April, quit my job, moved out of my apartment, moved in with my cousin for 3 months, and then moved from Columbus, Ohio, where I was living, to downtown Chicago. So I've been living in Chicago just for a month. I am running my business full time. I also, I think this year I am on track to triple my income from my business. And I'm also getting certified as a coach to incorporate coaching into my online business coming up here. And I'll be launching a podcast. And I, of course, am like paying down tons of student loan debt. So everything is is actually really amazing considering taking that point in time of FinCon 2017, where it was just like a really hard time for me.
Yes, I remember that moment. And I mean, you've been in the business of blogging and making money blogging for a few years now, and things just took off for you. I mean, it was a slow start from 1 year ago today, but then all of a sudden, like within the last, I feel, oh gosh, time has gone by so fast. So 9 months, let's say, things really took off. And you even created this course, Design Your Dream Life Academy, which we'll talk about a little bit more because I've taken it and I personally love it. But I want to unpack the how. Like, how did you change your mindset from being heartbroken to going, okay, I'm going to focus on my business, to going, okay, I'm going to actually like take this business and then quit my job because I'm doing so well and then move? Like, where was your mindset when you started, and how did you get to that moment of like, things have just taken off for you?
Yeah, so I think I decided and committed before I was mentally there. I remember this is terrible. One of my ex's friends, I had met him right when my ex and I had started dating, and he had just gotten out of a 4.5-year relationship. And the entire time that my ex and I dated, like years, this guy was like devastated. He was like the guy crying out in public, like. And I remember
guy. We all have that guy in our lives.
Right. And you're just like, gosh, it's been like a year, get it together. And I just remember thinking and being so devastated because it was a really big surprise to me. And I had never had my heart broke like that. And I just remember being so heartbroken and just deciding in that moment, even though it was so painful, like, I am not going to be that guy. I am not going to be that person. I am going to do whatever it takes to invest in myself, my emotional health, my mental health, my professional life, my personal life. And even if it's just one little thing every single day, like, I'm just going to go for it. And that's literally what I did. So I started, I've always loved personal development, but you kind of go through something and you're like, okay, now I'm going all in. Mm-hmm. So I started listening to podcasts. I did go to therapy. I read books. I really just prioritized personal development because I really wanted to feel better. And throughout that, I really just changed my whole mindset. And a lot of it is attributed to someone who is now my personal coach and mentor, Brooke Castillo from the Life Coach School. And I went through like 200 episodes, all of them, of her podcast in like a few weeks. So if you know me, I am like a go all in person. Like I get really amazing results and have had amazing results in the last year because I have honed the skill of being committed and going all in. And when I did that with personal development, and it gave me amazing results. And then it just so happened that in February, so a few months after FinCon, I went to Traffic and Conversion Summit with one of my friends, Lauren from Create and Go. She also is the co-creator of a course that you and I both took, 6-Figure Blogger. And I had already increased my income a little bit from my business, but you add on the layer of all this personal development and then being at this conference around all of these like-minded people who, by the way, Traffic and Conversion Summit is a conference where there are not a lot of bloggers. It is a lot of media agencies and a lot of just entrepreneurs. Like, I didn't really know that ahead of time. So I'm there and I'm with people and they're all giving me different kinds of advice because I'm still working full time. And Lauren is just like, you cannot re-sign your lease. And I had the lease literally sent over to me. I was supposed to re-sign my lease or assign a new lease for Columbus, Ohio. And everyone was just like, no, like, you're on the right track. You're doing well. Like, it's time. It's time. And I knew that if I made the decision there while I was outside of my home base and I put things into place to actually take action, that I would make it happen. Because when I know myself and most people, when you go back into your comfort zone, it's much harder to take action, right? You're like, oh, well, Columbus is fine. I want to kind of be here. My job is fine. It would be better if I waited till all my student loans are off. And you kind of allow yourself to be comfortable. So knowing that about myself and like how my brain works, how the brain works, I decided like very intentionally to make the decision to quit my job and move out of Ohio while I was at Trafficking Conversion Summit, which was in San Diego, California. I didn't sign the lease. I decided I was going to quit my job. I told, my friends, so I started to actually take action so that I couldn't kind of go back on my word. And, by the time I got home, I had, my mind was already there. Now, I really want to say that it was never easy and it never felt good. Like you would think like, oh, of course, like, oh, you're quitting your job, like everything's great. No, you're not. It's still super, super scary. If you worked for an employer your entire life, like I am not I'm an entrepreneur at heart now, but I was always going to be a lawyer. I was always going to work for someone. So leaving that quote unquote security as a financial planner at that time was super, super scary. But I knew that it was the right decision. I trusted myself. I had done all the personal development work and studying of kind of like how the brain works to know that like fear about doing something new and unknown doesn't mean you made the wrong decision. It certainly doesn't mean stop or change your mind or anything like that. So as terrified as I was, I put in my notice and I quit. And I have been honestly doing a lot of like productivity work and calendar planning to make sure that I'm constantly creating my future from my future, which is what Design Your Dream Life Academy is about a lot. So that I move through any sort of fear and worry that I have, so it doesn't hold me back.
Oh, I love it. You literally got over a breakup, started increasing your income, decided you were going to quit your job, decided you weren't going to sign your lease, started making much better money after you quit your job and even before, and then you decided to move to Chicago. And I'm sure all of that you had a lot of fear around. I want to talk about two things. One is you mentioned earlier that you started listening to this podcast and you ingested all this information around personal development and really recognizing your mindset and how you had to change your mindset. Where was your mindset, in that kind of like getting over a breakup hump to starting to shift your focus into more personal development and really putting your efforts into your business? What was that mindset shift that you had? What was it before and what did you kind of choose to start thinking about after?
So before I really had a big mindset shift, I was still really interested in personal development. I had been listening to personal development podcasts in general for a couple of years and reading those books. I've learned a lot of it, but I never really had a tool to apply it to my life. And I kind of learned that from the life coach school. But my mindset was in a place of like cautiousness, and it was in a place where I wasn't creating my future from my future. So I was living very comfortably. I had a little bit more of a scarcity mindset where I really put so much meaning behind my student loan debt. And I made it mean like I couldn't do things, like it had kind of this power over me, which it kind of was reinforced a lot by some of the personal finance stuff I was reading. So what's been really interesting is that I've kind of gone from this personal finance money management mindset to more of an entrepreneurial mindset. And I think both are incredibly useful and helpful, but it's knowing how to use each. So I had learned how to manage money from all of the personal finance reading and books. And I was a financial planner, certified financial planner at a registered investment advisory firm. We managed over $1 billion in assets under management, a fantastic firm. And I learned all about managing money. So my mindset was, take what you have and, do the best you can with it. Well, when you start out with $206,000 of student loan debt from law school, and you just have to make a choice. It's really hard to pay that off without having like an enormous income. And the choices that I made, I didn't want to practice law anymore. Financial planning was great, but it was half the income. And then I was introduced to this entrepreneurial world where the mindset was totally different. So I went from this mindset of money is meant to take care of me. I need to be frugal, and money kind of has power over me, and my student loan debt kind of dictates what I can and can't do, to this whole new world of money is just neutral. It's just a circumstance. And like the only meaning it has is the meaning that we give it. So I kind of redefined what money meant for me. I used my personal development knowledge and wove it into money. And the result was like fantastic. I immediately stopped giving so much power to my student loans. I literally tripled my income. And a lot of people will say, well, you took Six-Figure Blogger. And that is true. I did that. And I implemented everything in that course. But look at all the other people who have taken that course. Like they just haven't had the results I have. And it's like when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Like I really, really knew how to do everything and have my mindset right and be really committed. So I really shifted from this scarcity mindset of never having enough money to one where like I can create as much money as I want, and so can everyone else. And it came from a very like abundant place. And the shift really did happen in the last year, which is really amazing.
And that's so true. I think when you surround yourself with the people that have this mindset, especially if you go from working in the personal finance, money management, being a financial advisor space, everyone else around you, at least from the hours of 9 to 5, are also in this kind of risk-averse world where they're thinking, okay, just like make sure you do the right thing with every dollar that you receive. And that can close off what everyone else is doing, which there's a lot of people out there that are doing the wrong things. But then there's a lot of people who are a little bit more willing to take risks with their money, like the entrepreneurs that you then surrounded yourself when you got to Traffic and Conversion Summit. And I remember you had said when we had talked a couple months ago, you were saying that you were looking around and you were like, well, all of these people would never be working a full-time job with the level of income that I'm making. They would just like quit and make it work and figure it out. But I can totally see where you come from when it's like, well, you work in this world of like, be responsible with your money, make good money decisions. And it's kind of like bridging that gap.
Yeah. And I also think you kind of get accustomed to adopting the norms of whatever environment you're in, whether it's like your socioeconomic status or just your coworkers or whatever. It's like, to someone who works 9 to 5 and doesn't, love business, like what I did is so risky. But it's like to the entrepreneurs that I was around at that conference, they're like, what are you doing? There's like this huge swing. And that is why I'm such a huge proponent of getting around people who have the results you want in your life, because I always think it's funny when people take advice from people who don't have the results that they want. I'm like, why would you do that? Don't do that. So, and it doesn't mean you don't, let them, try to tell you what to do, right? Like your friends and family will certainly give you opinions when you're transitioning to different careers, but I never, listen to it unless it's from people who have the results that I want. And that honestly has been so useful in my life.
Yeah, and that's such a good piece of advice, especially when you have friends and family who will voice their opinions on, your choice to start this blog on the side. And they'll go, oh, well, that'll never work. But they don't have a blog. They've never done it. They've never even tried. Or any other decision that you make. I mean, we all have those people who choose to kind of put their insecurities out there on you. And that is a really good piece of advice to be able to know, okay, I can ignore this because they don't have the results I'm looking for. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was your kind of shift from, you had been consistently making like a steady income on the side, but for you not enough to feel confident in quitting your job. And then you kind of pulled that trigger, but you had also been able to triple your income in such a short amount of time. And although I do think mindset is such a huge proponent of that, you also talk about in Design Your Dream Life about this concept of balance and how we're all like searching for balance, but really balance isn't the answer. So I would love for you to tell us, like, what of your daily sacrifices did you make to really go all in on your business and this one goal that you had in order to actually make it achievable and to achieve it?
I love this question so much. I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, balance is like the enemy of success. Okay. It just is. Throw it out the window. I don't know who invented it, but it is like paralyzing so many people. If you want, if you want unusual results, you have to do unusual things. If you want to be super successful, you have to be super focused. And that means that you prioritize one or two areas of your life and everything else goes. And it's just for a season, right? So we accept this in terms of institutions that have created structure for us. So lawyers and doctors and pharmacists and dentists and all the people who go to professional school are really good examples. So they'll go for like 3-4 years. I mean, if you include like residency and all that, it can be like 10 years or more. And there is an understanding like you're totally off balance. You are studying all the time, taking tests all the time. If you have like one night off a week, that is amazing. And that is how business is. And I think because there's not this set structure in place, people don't do that. Like I cannot even tell you how many times people try to tell me like, slow down, be careful, you're going to get burned out. I've had to literally like tune it out and not let it bother me because they're so wrong. Like it's crazy to me. So I didn't really get this until I took Six Figure Blogger, and Alex, the other co-founder, really told me, he was giving me a hard time, teasing, of course, about getting my first product done. So Six Figure Blogger, they teach you how to create products, digital products, ebooks and e-courses. He was asking me like, how's it going, or whatever. And I don't remember how long it was taking, like weeks. And he really kind of said like, this should be a priority over your other stuff and it should be done like already. And I decided to start getting up at 4 a.m. I stopped working out. I stopped cooking. I stopped going out like on the weekends, except for like a certain time period. I don't know if it was like 6 to 10 on Friday and Saturday nights, but that's it. Like I would go home and go to bed and get up on Saturday and Sunday mornings and work all day. I went all in. Okay. Most people are just not willing to do that for their businesses. Now they are willing to do it for medical school or law school. I think because in society, everyone else like supports that. If you're like, oh, I have to study for boards, people are like, oh, okay. If you're like, oh, I have to work on my blog, they're like, well, like I'll have friends be like, well, you don't really have to. It's up to you. Like it's on your time. And it just makes me cringe. I'm like, this is a real business. So I really, really took an extreme approach, and that's why my results have been so extreme. I tripled my income. I plan on doing that. I do plan on implementing some sort of like 3-day-a-week work schedule in my future, but it'll probably be another year or two before I do that. And I'll triple my income until then, and then I'll go down to 3 days a week. So it's not like you have to be off balance forever, but you definitely have to be off balance for a season. Choose one thing that's the main priority, and then have like, the secondary and the third thing that are important to you. Maybe it's just your day job, your family, and your business or something like that. But if you try to keep like all your, like I used to cook new recipes on Sunday nights on like that. Instagram. Yeah. My friend Michelle was like, where are they? Like I used to just, put the Instagram stories, like, why was I, no, it doesn't drive revenue, right? Constantly we're doing things that are, in the name of just like hobbies when it's just not useful to get the results we want. You really have to get serious about the results you want in your life in order to make it happen. And that's just the truth. And thankfully I did have law school as kind of a baseline. So I don't really ever feel like I'm working too hard at all. Like before I moved to Chicago, I went out to lunch with 3 of my attorney friends and like they had all been up, like they had something due the day before, and they had all been up like till midnight, just working and working and working. And that's not even work that they are like loving. You know what I mean? Like when I work, I'm so excited about it. So, if you've been to professional school or you are a professional, I think you kind of get this, or you have a loved one who's a professional like that. But otherwise, if you don't, the mistake I see so much are new bloggers kind of thinking that it should be like something that they invest a couple hours a week in, or even a day. And and they expect to make like 6 and 7 figures. It just doesn't work like that in the beginning.
Right. And like you said, this is my favorite thing that I pulled from the Design Your Dream Life Academy, or maybe it was just talking to you. I don't really remember anymore. It all blurs together. It's your voice. But the idea that life is lived in seasons. And so you're doing this just for a season. You plan on doing 3-day work weeks in the future. But right now you are so focused on making these sacrifices so that you can get to that point. And that is so important. I even use this beyond just thinking about business, but I've started using this when I'm working with my coaching clients and being like, you want to pay off that debt or you want to save for this goal, this is what you have to do. And good news is it's not forever. You just have to start focusing on it now. You don't have to go, spend your money on all these other things. You actually get to choose not to spend your money there, and you can choose to save it for this one particular goal that you're working for. But for people who continue to fail to meet their goals, it's because they're not willing to make those big decisions and those big sacrifices.
It's so true. And we sort of have a tendency as humans just to project what we're feeling and going through right now into the future for eternity. And it's just not true. You can put a deadline on it, or you can say, okay, I'm going to give this a year and do my best and go all in. And I really think that you're doing yourself a favor by doing that.
So I want to get into the tangible tips round, although you've dropped plenty of tangible tips as we've been talking. But I would love to know what your 3 biggest tangible tips are for people who are out there trying to pursue their goals and designing their own dream lives. What do you have that can help the listeners achieve what you've been able to achieve, or some form of it, whatever their goals are?
Yes. Tip number 1, get clear about what you want in life and then work backward to create it. Most people are just lacking clarity and a plan. They don't want to decide. And so they kind of just like float through life, and they think that their happiness is somewhere else and that they're not responsible for it. So get really clear about what you want most in your life. And this can be for each area, for your health, for your family, for the community, for the work that you do, for your finances, for your business, if you have a business, for your faith, personal development, all of it. Get really, really clear about the vision that you have, that you want for your life, and work backwards. So, if you work backwards, you would say from, your financial life, if you want to be financially independent, okay, well, how do you want to do that? You only have a few options. Do you want to work at a full-time job from an employer and save your money? Do you want to run a business? Do you want to do it through real estate? Like, it can be really general, but then work backwards. So if you're like, oh, it's from business. Okay. Do you have a business? No, you don't have a business yet. Okay. You got to start a business. Like it's really simple if you know what you want most and work backwards, because then all you have to do is create a plan and then go get it. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2 would be to start putting things on your calendar in terms of the results that you expect to produce during a specific time instead of working on whatever it is. So this is kind of shifting from the time and effort economy to the results economy. Is how I frame it. Instead of saying, oh, I'm going to work on my blog from 12 to 4 p.m. on Sunday, you say, you block off 12 to 4 p.m. for your blog, but then you actually put in your calendar the specific results that you expect to produce during that time. So maybe you would write one blog post, write social media posts, and draft the recording for your outline for a podcast or something like that. But you always want to be putting the results that you expect to have in time slots in your calendar. You will feel really, really energized, and you always want to put more than you expect to be able to get done, because you kind of want to have that energy going through the time instead of like looking at the clock like, okay, I'm supposed to be working from 12 to 4 and you're playing around on social media. If you have a list of what you're supposed to produce during that time, it's really, really exciting and energizing. And then the last tip, which is a little bit different, is to practice separating yourself from your thoughts and your feelings. So one of the biggest mindset shifts that I had was kind of from this place of scarcity to abundance. And one of the best ways I know how to do that is to just notice that you are not your thoughts and that your thoughts create your feelings. So thoughts create your feelings, feelings create your actions, actions create your results. start asking yourself, what am I thinking? And notice what your brain is defaulting to think, and kind of become the watcher of your own mind. Do that also with your feelings. So the next time you're feeling upset or a negative emotion, notice yourself separate from that negative emotion. So if you truly experience a negative emotion, you will just notice it as like a feeling or a vibration in your body. You won't be reacting to it. So like an angry person isn't someone who's like lashing out. That's reacting to the feeling of anger. Real anger is just like a sensation or vibration in your body. So notice it and separate yourself from it. And the reason that this is important for financial success or whatever else is because like your willingness to experience negative emotion is going to directly relate to your success in any area. So it's those areas of your life where you're unwilling to experience negative emotion that you're going to struggle with the most. So practice separating yourself from your thoughts and from your feelings just by asking yourself, what am I thinking and what am I feeling?
Fantastic. And I think that can be the most difficult part. But once you start really building awareness around the mindset piece, that third tip, it starts to become much more easier. Would you say that's true?
Absolutely. Like everything is better when you start doing this. I'm serious. It just is.
It reminds me, this like, I don't think this relates at all, but it just reminds me, here's how I'm drawing the line, is that the thoughts that you have and the things that you say, they impact you so greatly. And if you just change it slightly, so in this case, it's separating those thoughts from your feelings, you can make such drastic shifts in your attitude and how you personally feel and the things that you're able to do. And it was really funny because the other day I was like standing in the kitchen talking to my boyfriend, and I don't know, I said something like, I'm fat. And he goes, hold on. You are not fat. You might have fat, but you are not fat. Just like I am not muscle. I have muscle, but I am not muscle.
That's so funny.
It's like
perks of dating someone who's not from the US. It's like the literal interpretation, but it makes you focus on your words more intentionally. I love that.
Exactly. Thank you for those tips. First of all, such groundbreaking tips, and these are all ones that I've been able to learn from you through your course, and it's so wonderful when you actually spell it out and explain exactly how this works with the brain and understanding how the brain works, and then how it works in your actual actions and how you take action throughout the day and how you get results. So it totally makes sense when you actually lay it out. We've always heard like these generalizations of mindset work and stuff, but when you have someone that can spell it out as easily as you do, it makes it all make sense. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I want to get into the money round because it's a money podcast. First is, what is your money philosophy at this moment? I think we all go through different stages in our lives where we spend money differently, but kind of what is your plan for your money right now? Where is it, most of it going, and how are you spending it?
Yes, I love this question, and especially just the frame that you gave it through, because my money philosophy has totally changed just in the last 5 years. I remember graduating from law school and knowing nothing about money, and then moving to more of like a Dave Ramsey, Susie Orman kind of money mindset, very heavily influenced by money management.
Kill the debt.
Right. And then now I'm completely in a different money philosophy, money mindset. I really believe that value creates money. So I'm so focused on providing more value into the world so that I create more money and just attract it into my life, instead of putting in more time and more effort to get that money. Like I really moved to a value and results-based economy. That's just the frame of mind I'm in. And looking at revenue, it is working. I really don't have this push-pull relationship with money like I used to. I kind of think of money as just being easy. I love, my mentor explained it, gave the analogy of someone who's really skinny. She's like, I used to be really overweight and used to think that skinny people must just like think about being skinny all the time. And right. And she's like skinny now. And she's like, no, skinny people just don't think about it at all. They're not like walking around like, I'm so skinny. It's just a non-issue. So the same thing is true for money. Like when money is an issue, all you do is think about money. But when it's not, it's just kind of easy and you're just not as focused on it. But that doesn't mean you're not creating it and managing it well. It's just a non-issue. I still do not like consumer debt at all. I don't get into any debt. But like, I can respect or understand people who get into debt as an investment in your future. But I can't in terms of like consumer debt. I just still am not about that life. I think that money is kind of a report card of how you're doing in the marketplace. I think it's fun. I do really like investing just because I have that background as a certified financial planner. So I kind of adopt this entrepreneurial mindset for creating money, but I still hold on to my money management mindset that I had as a certified financial planner, where saving and investing, I still do it, but the fun part for me is creating money.
Awesome. So you've shared how you had over $200,000 of student loan debt coming out of law school. And in your blog, you used to talk about that a lot. Maybe you still do, but you obviously are making more money now and probably able to focus on paying that off. You don't carry consumer debt. So how is your money split? Are you really focusing on just paying off your money? Are you also investing it in retirement? Kind of where are you at right now?
Yeah, so I am not I budget, but I budget with big numbers. And I will always track my spending. I'll always have a budget, but I don't focus on like I'm never going to be someone who's like, well, don't buy that Starbucks drink. Like that's just not how I roll. And it works really well for me. So I focus on like when I get big chunks of money, I pay off big chunks of my student loan debt. I will absolutely have it paid off in 2 years. I'm hoping I have it paid off in 1 year, just based on revenue. We'll see. But after that, I have my emergency fund saved. I'm all about like investing. I do invest in retirement as well. And then I'm really, really excited to give more. I really, really like giving money. It feels really good if you come from a place of generosity. But I really just split it up very basically. It doesn't have to be fancy. I'm definitely an index girl and a retirement fund kind of girl, but I don't get super jazzed and excited about talking about which funds I'm picking. I just kind of pick my asset allocation and invest, and that's pretty much it.
That's awesome though, because you are so focused on putting so much money away into your student loans. And if the listeners out there have not listened to my podcast with Natalie, the first one that we did, we talked much more in depth about her student loan situation and her attitude towards paying it off. So make sure you check it out. I'll link it in the show notes and I will mention the episode. I can't remember the number now, but I will mention it in the outro. But when we were talking, you had mentioned, or maybe I had asked you about like student loan forgiveness and how you were like, yeah, that is a possibility, but that's not something I even rely on. Like paying off my debt is so important to me. And now it's like, you could be debt free from this $200,000 within 6-7 years, you could be debt free. And could you imagine, because how long does it take for your student loans to get forgiven?
No, you can get forgiven you can get your student loan debt forgiven.
Assuming you are working in the public space, obviously.
Right. So you can get your student loan debt forgiven in 10 years, but I just think that's the wrong way to look at it in a way, because it's like, again, your student loan debt has so much. I mean, if you really love public service and are doing it because that's what you want to be doing, then yes, I think the program
could be a great option.
Yes, it's fantastic. But what I see, and I have seen this not only from peers and colleagues, but also from clients and children of clients at the financial planning firm I was at, is that people are taking these jobs just to get their student loans paid off. I'm like, you're selling your soul for 10 years. And then not only that, if they do get forgiven, which is a whole nother story, but just like assume best case scenario that they get forgiven, in some cases, you will still owe tax on it. Now, let's say you don't owe tax on it. Let's say it's like part of the program that you won't. You're still then making like barely anything. And if you'd taken that job because you don't and you don't want to be in that career, like then what? You've just wasted 10 years. Like
Right.
I have a lawyer friend who works for the government because she wants to get her student loans repaid, and she's pregnant and she still has 4 years to go, and she wants to quit, and they can quit based on her husband's salary, but her student loan debt has like exponentially increased because as you are paying income payments, your interest rate is causing your student loan debt to increase. So
Right.
she cannot, or she can, but she will not quit this job until another 4 years. And I just like for something to have power over you like that, I'm like, okay, forget it. I'm just going to go make a bunch of money, pay off my
Right.
student loan debt, and then I'll have a 6 or 7 figure business, and it's great. And like, and I say that so confidently, but like anyone can do that. It's not, I'm not like special. Anyone can do that.
Yeah. I think that's so important. And the question gets brought up to me all the time. And that's why I really like point them to your episode. And even now it's like, there's so many reasons why forgiveness may not be the right option for you. And sometimes it's just better to just have a very aggressive strategy on paying it down and work hard to make more money and continue to pay it down. And so I thank you for sharing openly.
Yeah.
About that.
I would also be interested if anyone has stories where they've really been happy with that decision and they feel like it's coming from abundance and they're just like, yes, this worked really well for me. I would love to hear that. I just haven't heard those stories yet. People kind of feel trapped by their student loan debt and feel like that's the only way out.
Yeah, if it works, if it's a fulfilling career and stuff, absolutely. I think it's a great option. Okay, what is one piece of unconventional money wisdom that you believe and implement in your life?
I don't use a credit card still.
So do you not have a credit score?
I do because of my student loan debt.
Ah, yes.
I have a great credit score, but that just isn't the mindset that I work from. I just would rather have a bunch of cash and pay with cash.
Right.
Like I have a good credit score I haven't really ever needed it. Like, I mean, as long as I have a decent, it's just never come up. I don't want a credit card personally because I am spendy, so it's too much temptation. Now, I am not one of those people who's going to advocate that other people don't get credit cards. Like, if you are super responsible with money and you can pay off your credit card every month, use a credit card. I just don't want that personal temptation in my life, and I feel like recognizing that and owning that really works for me. Now, will I get one sometime in my future? I don't know, maybe. But right now and up to this point, I really just haven't needed one, so I don't use it.
Yeah. Know thyself. Plus, from a lady who's paying off $200,000 in student loan debt, you can just turn that right around and save up enough money to buy a house outright. Like the main reason why personally I'm like, okay, if you don't have a great credit score, we can help build it up using a credit card the right way. But if you have the ability to just buy a house outright, because that's really the only reason you need a good credit score is being able to borrow money to buy a car, which I don't advocate for, and being able to borrow money to buy a house, which I'm also on the fence for. But for some people, it is the right decision, and that is the only reason then why it would be important. But like, it's also better to buy it outright if you can.
Well, I just I'm not like a house person. Like you could just be super rich and live in like a sweet high rise in the city. And that's like more my style. Like I'm not a real estate girl, but like if I was in the future, maybe I'll get a credit card and get that. But like I have a good credit score now because of my student loan debt, but I just don't like, I'm not like, oh, I gotta save, 20% to get that house in the suburbs. Like I get nervous going to the suburbs. I am living my best city life right now. So I'm not interested because, I just think you don't need to buy a house to be super wealthy. You buy a house to live in, and usually people do that and then are house poor, which I have no interest in.
Yeah. And you don't need to buy a house to feel like you made it. You don't need to buy a house just because you got married. You don't need to buy a house at all. And that's a big problem that we have in our society. I mean, there's a lot of people who make money from you buying houses. So I think it's important to talk about, but we don't have time, so we got to move on.
Yes.
Okay, let's get into the quick and dirty Q&A because we got to wrap this up. I love this one. It's the confession time. And you know what? My boyfriend was supposed to bring me a drink so I could drink to it, but he hasn't come out. He's building a bike in the back room. So We have such a weird life. But I want to do our kind of like money or personal development confessions. One embarrassing thing. It can be a money move, or since you're like the personal development guru of my world, at least, it can be something like that. But I don't know what it would be. But something embarrassing that you've done. How did you rationalize it, and share it with the peeps?
Yeah, I have to say it because it's just such a part of my story, and I really feel this way, is that just not being involved at all in taking out my student loans. Like, I literally knew nothing until I graduated from law school as like a 25-year-old adult. And that it's not even the amount that's embarrassing to me. It's embarrassing that like I just knew nothing about my student loan debt, and it has shaped the rest of my life.
Yeah. That's like an entire conversation we could spiral into,
Yeah.
but
Know your numbers, people.
know your numbers. Yes. It's so hard. It's so hard. Oh, I have so much to say. No, I'm going to share my confession with you, which is I'm going to share a like anti-productivity mistake that I made. It also was it's a money confession as well. So I always share mine because, I'm not going to just put you on blast.
Thank you.
So I think it was probably like last year, probably a year and a half ago. I can remember because of the seasons. You probably don't even watch TV, but
don't.
Have you heard of The Handmaid's Tale?
I've heard of it. My brother said it's a good show.
It's really good.
Okay.
Very, very, very good. But be careful because
Okay.
I, being the frugal biatch that I am, I signed up for Hulu, the free trial, and I was like, I'm going to watch this in 30 days and then cancel my Hulu membership because I'm not paying for it. Little did I know I would be done watching it in 2 days, which I know some people do like 1-day binges. I can't do that. This was also during the work week, so I just spent like the entire evening and stayed up until like 2 a.m. binge watching. I think it's A Handmaid's Tale. I don't know how it's called, but it's so good, but it's dangerous. So just stay away from it until you get your 3-day work weeks, and then you can binge watch many seasons.
Oh, that's so funny. I had a doctor's appointment the other day and I went in and I was there 15 minutes early because I'm in Chicago. I'm walking places. I don't know how long it's going to take. So I got there 15 minutes early and they're like, the doctor's running 30 minutes behind. I'm like, I can't just give up 45 minutes of my day. I had a moment where I had to literally decide what I was going to do. I hadn't brought my laptop with me because if I had, I could have just sat down and worked.
Right.
I ended up, staying and it was fine. It was a challenge for someone who is so, time management oriented and productivity oriented. That was really hard for me.
All right, let's move on. What is one non-negotiable money indulgence that you refuse to cut from your non-existent budget?
My hair. It will never, nothing could rock me on what I spend on my hair. I have blonde hair and it's naturally kind of that dirty blonde, mousy color that just has to be colored blonde. So I will never stop highlighting my hair.
There you go. What is one small $100 or less investment that has helped you get ahead?
So I'm totally going to break the rules here because I can't really think of $100, but under $1,000, my laptop was literally the best investment I ever made. And I think it's more than paid for itself by now. I built my entire business on it.
What is the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning and the last thing you do before bed?
I coach myself.
Oh my gosh, how do you do that? Are you learning how to do that through your coaching training program?
It's amazing. Yeah. Self-coaching. It works really well. One little tip I can give is part of it is kind of to set the intention for how you want to feel that day. So I'll write down, and lately I've been doing love. It's been amazing. I just go around all day beaming with love. It's awesome. So I coach myself. Very
cool. All right. Give us one recommendation, either a tool or a book or an app that you have.
So go listen to the Life Coach School podcast and start at number 1 and listen to at least 10 episodes. It will rock your world. It's so good.
Natalie, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was wonderful to catch up with you, and I'm so excited for you, all the success that you've been having, all the wonderful things, that have happened to you in your life and continue, I'm sure, to keep happening. I said this in a podcast not too long ago, but there's those people in our lives who it just seems like good things keep happening to them. And if you're sitting here thinking, well, bad things just keep happening to me, there's a reason for that. And I'm sure Natalie has somewhat of the answer for that. So you got to go check her out. But tell us more where we can find you, how we can check you out, and how we can stay in touch.
Yes, you can just head on over to nataliebacon.com. If you do /about, so nataliebacon.com/about, you can read my entire story. And that is where you'll learn more about me than you ever wanted to know. And I'm also on Instagram at Natalie R. Bacon.
Very cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And that's a wrap on episode number 77 with my good friend, Natalie Bacon. I hope you guys loved that episode as much as I did. Just so many good pieces of advice, things to go and apply to your life right now. And speaking of applying things to your life right now, Natalie has actually given us a gift. If you are interested in designing your dream life, and I'm telling you, I've been through this course. It is magical. It is life-changing. Natalie's course, Design Your Dream Life Academy, is truly something that everybody needs. She talks about the mindset stuff, the thoughts that we have and how they impact your feelings and impact your actions and lead to your results. She talks about productivity, time management, goal setting, why we end up wasting time and how we can start focusing our time, setting those results-based goals or doing time management based on your results instead of just filling the hours of your day. So many good things in this course. And Natalie even left us a coupon for a 20% discount. So here's what you got to do. Go to wanderwealthy.com/dreamlife. And yes, I will put the link in the description box of this podcast episode as well as in the show notes, but go to wanderwealthy.com/dreamlife. That will take you to the page. When you check out, I want you to type in wanderwealthy20 for 20% off of the Design Your Dream Life Academy. This is your opportunity to start changing things, to start 180ing your life if that's what you want. Maybe even just a 90 degree change. Whatever it is you're looking for, you can have it and you can have it now. So let's go after that today. And until next time, I hope you wander wealthy.